Welcome back, everybody. Well, airstrikes pounding the ancient Syrian city of Aleppo this weekend. Residents calling this newest surge in violence the worst that they have seen since the civil war there when it began 5 years ago. Syrian troops capturing several parts of the city, taking control away from rebel forces. The fighting killing dozens of civilians. Dramatic video showing the moment when rescuers free a little girl from the rubble of her home after her parents and 4 siblings were killed in an airstrike. Very dramatic there. Joining us now, Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North, Fox News military analyst, the host of War Stories, and the author of Counterfeit Lies. Welcome, Colonel North. It's good to see you. You are in Israel right now.
Uma, we are back along the Sea of Galilee, let's put it that way. But this afternoon, Uma, we were 15 miles north of here on the Golan Heights at a UN observation post. Just across the Israeli-Syrian border, forces loyal to the government of Bashar al-Assad are engaged in an effort to seize the rebel-held city of Jabata al-Kabab. Very much like what you see happening up north, it's happening down here as well. From our position on the Israeli side of the border, we can see artillery fire and Russian or Syrian airstrikes. It's quite obvious here, as well as further north, that despite claims by the Obama administration, there is absolutely no ceasefire whatsoever in Syria. And even worse, Uma, it appears the bloody civil war in Syria is far from over, with horrific civilian casualties like you just showed. And now, a new alignment. Russia, Iran, Syria, Iraq, and Hezbollah-controlled Lebanon, all versus tiny Israel. The battles in Syria have resulted in at least 8 mortar rounds striking Israeli territory and Israeli response with airstrikes on the regime's artillery positions. The Assad regime is now supplied with Russian surface-to-air missiles, and they recently fired without effect at an Israeli jet conducting a retaliatory strike. Uma, where it goes from here is anyone's guess, but it does not look good.
I mean, the pictures are heartbreaking, to be sure. Let's talk for a moment about the fact that the trucks carrying humanitarian aid are not getting into the city of Aleppo.
Well, of course, this was all supposed to be dependent on a ceasefire that our wanted Secretary of State, John Kerry, assured everybody that would work. You know, it's interesting. In all of that conversation he had with the Russian Foreign Ministry, none of it was ever made public to the American people. One has to wonder why. The Russians even asked for that. Lavrov made a big point of, let's lay it before the Security Council. It didn't happen. The end result, a further disaster for the people of Syria and greater uncertainty for the country I'm in right now, Israel.
What has surprised you the most from what you've been witnessing out there?
Well, first of all, the lack of coverage in the United States. Now, it's understandable we don't have a lot of American correspondents inside rebel-held territory in Syria, and certainly not with the Syrian government. The reality of it is, however, there's a lot going on even in the southern front, right just north of the Israeli border. And I'm quite frankly astounded that we don't have better coverage of what's going on. Admittedly, we've got an election coming on, and we know that Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is going to meet with both presidential candidates. And there's great hopes here that there's going to be some kind of positive change in America's foreign policy, particularly toward the only democracy and our closest ally in this part of the world.